So in terms of responsibilities for the position of a prophet, it's be a messenger, or you're primarily a messenger. You hit people with the truth they don't want to hear. You be the minority, and you act on what you know is right. So I think some of that is true for other roles in the kingdom too.
You think that's why it's, sorry to interrupt, but that's why it's so hard today for politicians to bring religion into anything, because of trying, to hit on these, and you see a politician get up there and try to, I think of them as like, and just using your analogy there about being a messenger, okay, but talking about the truth, being the minority, acting on what is right. And I see that's how we're led as a society. You see politicians and this kind of stuff. And, to be a believer and to see, how our own country is led. Just probably like it was back then, with kings and everything. It's just seeing how, what's important versus how they sort of talk about what they think is right. Not that they're a false prophet as being a president or being a leader, but I see that more as you get involved in politics, that they get away from the religion side of things. They Romney, they try to...
They leave behind who they are sometimes, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing, and it's like they feel it's necessary.
Yep.
Because of the situation you have to handle. Yeah, I wonder what it would be like to be in that position, and to stand up. I'd love to see a guy do it,
Right.
I think you have a lot of the silent majority to stand up for it.
They'll be attacked. The same thing happened to Perry in Texas when he had like a prayer meeting or something, and, to announce his candidacy. They attacked him as a radical Christian, and he was going to be against everything. The left does that, and people unfortunately are easily swayed whatever way they want to go. They're just trying to please themselves and walk away from God. So this way they won't feel bad about what it is that they do and how they live their lives.
It's like nothing's wrong with Christians. I like Christmas, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I go to Mass, oh, I go to this, and it's just this whole, I'll choose any God I want at whatever moment.
That's a perfect example where now it's not proper for people in shops to say Merry Christmas. They say Happy Holidays because they don't want to offend people because they may not be Christians. But here, though, all these different religions or different ideas that people have, they're all worshiping the same or celebrating the same party, the same Christmas, but they just want to call it something else because it just to appease them. It goes to show how far we're falling to the left side and we're leaving Christ, abandoned.
It's called the same thing that used to happen in Israel during those days.
Yeah. I know, nothing's changed, right? People are still people. It's ridiculous. The second part, Robbie, had something to say?
No.
Second part is the qualifications of a prophet. So let's talk about the qualifications. I think this is kind of interesting. So what is it? So there's actually, Moses laid it out in the book of the law in Deuteronomy, and basically talked about how they've got to live up to the highest standards because others are looking for cracks, no doubt. And the prophetic test, according to Moses, to tell a prophet from a false prophet is Deuteronomy 18:21 and Deuteronomy 13:1. And 18:21 talks about the 100% accuracy. Because if somebody's in this, it makes sense. You have to be 100% accurate all the time. If you're not hearing from God. God's not wrong. So Moses is saying, look for false prophets because what they say will come to pass if they're hearing from God. Because again, they're just messengers. I'm just telling you what he said, So it's the second prophetic text is Deuteronomy 13:1, and it says they have to worship and point to Yahweh, which is the one true God. So if you think about, I was thinking about when I read this, I'm like, there's a lot of prophets even today that talk about when the end time is coming, but some of that stuff isn't about God. It's kind of like they want the notoriety. Like, I'm the one who called it, I called the date, kind of thing. And it's like he wouldn't pass the test because you got to point to the one true God. This is all about him and not about you. Elijah's up on that mountain not for himself, believe me. He's up on that mountain to show that God is God and he's still here and he's living and you got to get right, people. This is all about, helping them not meet destruction that's coming. So in terms of qualifications to be a prophet, it's a pretty high standard, 100% accuracy, and always pointing to the Lord. And we can tell false prophets simply, there are other tests, but these are the two main tests. So that's the number 2 qualification of a prophet, is to be prepared to risk everything again and again. That goes without saying. So earlier, prior to the passage that we read in this epic story of Mount Carmel, I told you Elijah had gone to King Ahab and delivered the news that there was going to be a drought for 3 years. Imagine going to the president and saying, you're not going to like this, but the economy is going to continue to tank. You're not going to be the most, favored guy, obviously. And in those days, you could get killed just for that kind of news. So, so basically, he's got to go deliver this bad news and risk his life over and over and over again. So he continued to deliver the bad news. In fact, he's standing up against the queen. Try that on, and he's the last one she's after him. So no doubt he's risking everything. So the next part I want to cover is the expectations for the position. I'm going to kind of run through these quickly for the sake of time, and I'd like to get to the occupational side effects, and of course the compensation, which I think is the cool part. I think that's why people work, is for the compensation. So in terms of expectations, let's just go through the first blank to fill in is that you live with the consequences of other sins. It's suffice to say, Elijah lived through that drought. The drought that he said was coming, he actually went and lived with a widow at the time, and she didn't have enough water to make her bread. They were hungry. Elijah lived through the drought. It's not like a drought and I'm immune because I'm with Yahweh. It's like, in this world, we're going to have to live, with the consequences of others and the folks around us. So, we're not immune.
He was a real man.
Yeah. He was Obi-Wan. He was a Jedi. No, and number 2, we care about people and watch them suffer. The widow he lived with, her son died. It says, in the Bible, it says, in my translation, it says from sickness, but earlier on, the mother says to Elijah, I don't even have enough food for myself and my son, and we're going to die. We're going to perish. And so in reading that, I believe that he probably died just from hunger and complications from not having enough food. Now, God allows Elijah to bring him back to life. But in terms of, he's watching suffering, it's with him. It's not like he's over here with God and everybody else is suffering. So other expectations you're going to have to deal with as a prophet. It's a lonely road. We don't see Elijah's with anybody else but God. So it's a lonely road. He's continually running from the queen. Do you guys think of any other examples where a man of God was a fugitive like this on his own?
Think about that movie with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
The Fugitive. Yeah, The Fugitive.
Fugitive, yeah.
Awesome.
Any other examples in the Bible where you can think of kind of guys?
There are, but somehow it's not coming up.
Okay, so just for the sake of time, the one I thought of was David, when he's running from Saul.
David, yeah.
Typical. Yeah. By himself, crying out to the Lord, kind of. So it's a lonely road, for sure. Number 4 is the fill-ins are, you're going to be hated and despised. Nobody likes bad news, and we kind of covered that earlier. So let's get into what I think, in terms of Be the Man, we always like to look at characters, and we like to see, the reality of these men, so we can kind of, apply that to ourselves. And this is the part that I think, was most impacting for me. So we're going to talk about the occupational side effects of a prophet. We need to read 1 Kings 19:4 through 16.